Welcome to PPG Prayer Community. Our story today is titled, The Flame That Did Not Die. The flame that did not die is perfect for Christian spiritual reflection, church inspiration services, motivational and full sermons, youth and adult Bible study groups. Now listen to this powerful inspirational story as narrated by Sister Gloria Comas.
If you've been feeling overlooked, forgotten, or unworthy, this story will remind you, heaven is watching. And God is not done with you yet. A forgotten weaver, a torn temple, a nation on the brink. This is the powerful, Bible-inspired story of Malachi the weaver, a humble man God used to bring revival to a broken generation. Set in the days of King Joash, this motivational and faith-building story blends biblical truth with deep spiritual insight, showing how God often uses the unseen to unleash the extraordinary. Elder Malachi, they said he was forgotten, but heaven was watching. Those were the words whispered on the lips of the villagers when Malachi returned. He was no prophet, no warrior, no prince. He was a weaver of cloth, plain, quiet, and unnoticed. But this is the story of how God used a forgotten man to ignite revival in a broken land. This is the story of Malachi the weaver. He was the man nobody saw. In the time of King Joash, long after the days of Elijah and Elisha, the land of Judah had grown weary. The people still went to the temple, but their hearts were far from God. Idol worship crept into the corners of the city. The priests, though robed in splendor, grew silent on truth. And in a small town called Shalem, nestled between hills and vineyards, lived a man nobody saw. Malachi was the son of a weaver, and the grandson of a weaver. Day after day, his hands moved across the loom, threading, tying, knotting. He was not strong in stature, nor rich in coin. He had no children and lived alone after the death of his wife. But there was something about him, a fire in his eyes and prayers whispered between the sounds of his loom. He read the Torah every morning before the sun rose. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Psalm 51 verse 10. Malachi prayed that verse each day, believing that though he was unseen by men, he was never unseen by God. The tower in the temple veil, Malachi noticing the tiny details. One day, as Malachi brought cloth to the city market, he passed by the great temple in Jerusalem. It shimmered in the sun, yet it felt hollow. He saw a group of priests laughing with merchants, bartering over silver rather than scripture. Suddenly, he noticed something strange, a small tear at the edge of the inner veil of the temple. It was almost invisible to the untrained eye, but not to a weaver. Malachi paused. Could it be a tear in the holy place? He asked a young priest nearby. Sir, do you know that the veil is torn? The priest scoffed. Old man, what do you know of temple matters? Go sell your cloth. But Malachi couldn't forget it. That night, he lay awake, heart burning. The veil is torn. What does it mean, Lord? He prayed. The answer came like thunder in his spirit. There is a tear in the temple, because there is a tear in the hearts of my people. He trembled. The dream and tea calling Malachi listens. That night, Malachi had a dream. He stood in the temple courts, and a great wind blew through the pillars. Fire descended from heaven, not to destroy, but to purify. Then a voice called his name, Malachi. He looked up and saw a man in linen glowing with light. You are to mend the tear, not with cloth, but with truth. I will put my words in your mouth. Fear not. He woke in sweat and silence. Me, Lord, he whispered. I am just a weaver. Then he remembered the call of Jeremiah. But the Lord said to me, do not say, I am only a youth, for to all to whom I send you, you shall go, and whatever I command you, you shall speak. Jeremiah 1 verse 7. Malachi bowed his head. Here I am, Lord. Use me. Receiving the message that stung. The next day, Malachi walked to the city square. He carried no sign, no scroll, only a heart full of truth. He began to speak. You come to the temple, but your hearts are full of idols. You offer sacrifices, but live in sin. Return to the Lord. Rend your hearts and not your garments. People laughed. Some spat. Others called him mad. But a few stopped and listened. One old woman with trembling hands said, "He speaks like the prophets of old." By the end of the week, a small group gathered around Malachi each day. Not many, but enough. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I among them. Matthew 18 verse 20. Malachi faces huge challenges. The priests strike back. News of Malachi's preaching reached the ears of the high priest. At first, he dismissed it. A weaver? Harmless. But when young priests began sneaking away to hear Malachi, and temple offerings began to dwindle, the tone changed. He must be silenced, the high priest growled. Guards were sent. Malachi was seized in the square, accused of blasphemy, and thrown into the dungeon. As he sat in darkness, Malachi prayed, "Lord, your servant is weary. Am I alone?" And like a whisper in the dark, he remembered Elijah. "Yet I reserve 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed to Baal." 1 Kings 19 verse 18. He smiled. Then I am not alone. Like this video if it blessed you. Subscribe for more spirit-filled Bible stories and Christian content. Comment below, who is your favorite Bible hero God used in unexpected ways? Thrown into prison and then the flame in the prison. What the priests did not expect was this. Malachi's cell became a sanctuary. Guards who mocked him at first began to linger. One guard, named Malchor, asked, "Why do you sing, old man?" "Because my God reigns," Malachi replied, eyes aglow. Soon, the prison began to change. Men wept as Malachi recited the Psalms. Chains felt lighter. Hope stirred. Revival had begun, not in the temple, but in the dungeon. The king that listens, the king hears a whisper. King Joash was restless. He had riches and power, but no peace. Then his royal scribe mentioned rumors of a weaver prophet imprisoned for preaching righteousness. Curious, the king ordered Malachi brought to him. "Old man," Joash said, "are you the one causing my city to tremble?" Malachi looked up with steady eyes. "Not I, my king, but the word of the Lord." Joash asked, "What is this word?" Malachi spoke plainly, "Your kingdom is rich, but your people are starving for truth. Tear down the altars of Baal. Clean the temple. Restore justice." The room was silent. Joash stood. "You are brave, or mad, but I will hear more." Now, the fire falls. Weeks passed. Malachi was freed. The king, stirred by Malachi's words, summoned the priests. "There will be a day of cleansing," he declared. All idols burned. The temple purified. Malachi was asked to speak at the ceremony. He stood before thousands, trembling but bold. "This is not the work of one man," he said. "This is the mercy of God, calling his children home." As he prayed, a wind blew through the crowd. Some say they saw fire above the temple. Others felt a heat in their hearts. But all knew revival had come. The legacy of a weaver. Malachi lived many years after that day. He never took a title, never wore a crown. But young prophets often came to his home to hear his stories. He told them, "You do not need a pulpit to speak truth. Just a willing heart. God sees what man forgets." On the day he died, a double rainbow appeared over Shalem. And someone carved these words on his tomb. "Here lies Malachi the weaver, friend of God, mender of hearts." Reflection and closing message. Malachi's story is not in the pages of scripture, but it is written in the spirit of it. He is like Amos, a shepherd called to prophesy. Like Jeremiah, who wept for the people. Like Paul, who sang in prison. And like Jesus, who was rejected by the religious but embraced by the forgotten. Here are some moral lessons of the story. 1. That you may be unseen by the world, but heaven sees you. 2. Revival begins not in the temple, but in the heart. 3. That you don't need a position, only obedience. 4.1 Flame, when lit by God, can set a nation ablaze. Bible verses for reflection. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 27. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. James 5 verse 16. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works. Matthew 5 verse 16. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, I will heal their land. 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14.
Real ones don't need titles, just obedience. What would you do if God called you like Malachi? Drop it below. Let's inspire each other. Malachi didn't preach from a pulpit. He preached from obedience. Fellow ministers, how are you igniting revival where you are? Let's build each other up. If this story lit a spark in you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to remember, God still uses the unseen. See you next time. I remain Dr. A.N. John.